first.
Welcome to Morgan You Asked For podcast. This week was Zach. The answer to that question that we were just talking about off air is yes. Like move people around.
Gotcha.
So, I think. I mean, officially, I don't know. Thanks for joining us this week. Zach's in for Trevor. Trevor's out this week. Obviously, this was the first week without football that we've had in a long, long time. And obviously, that's the number one thing that Trevor and I talk about. And Zach's more of a basketball guy. And right now, we're right in the heart of college basketball. We're going to start with Iowa State. Second time in 3 weeks that they're going to be college game day is going to be at an Iowa State game. Now, this week it is at Houston, but it is the game of the week. I think Houston's 5 and Iowa State's 8. It is the game of the week. It is everything that you want it to be. Iowa State is only got one loss with a tip-in against Auburn, the number one team in the country. And they proved it again and again with Milan Maksilovic. Their other 4 losses are without him. And three losses. So what do you think of Iowa State? I know you're a Hawk fan, but you do follow Iowa State basketball a little closer than Iowa State football, or hate them less than Iowa State football. The difference since Milanis came back in just overall perspective, and then the game at Houston.
Yeah, they obviously they have a very good team. I think what do they got? 5 games left. I mean, I think they could be seeded anywhere from a 1 to a 3, just kind of depending on how they finish. Obviously if they lose them all or something, they could drop to a 4 or 5, but I don't see that. Houston's a huge game. They win that, they're right back in the mix for a 1. I think they got to probably get 3 wins here to probably stay at a 3. 4 might get them to a 2, but in the grand scheme, if you get in those top 4, and they can get to the Sweet 16, they can beat anybody. I mean, I think Sweet 16's the bare minimum I think Iowa State fans would expect at this point. They've got everything they need. It's just going to be a matter of staying healthy, and they're going to have to win some close games in the tournaments. But I think the way they look right now, I think they're a lock to the Sweet 16, and then you know how that goes in the tournaments. Come the Sweet 16, it's just a matter of who's playing good and who gets hot at the right time. But if you're an Iowa State fan, you got to be really excited about this tournament run coming up. And in the past, I mean, I know you guys love that Big 12 tournament and you travel well to it, but I don't think that's really going to matter at this stage of the game. I think they need to, if they win it, they win it. If they lose, they lose. I think everybody knows kind of the ultimate goal is to make a run in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, the difference in this year's team and previous ones was there was a definite ceiling to the previous ones. Their offense was a ceiling, or just talent in general. This team, with that 20-point lead against Auburn, and now that we've seen Auburn do what they do, Iowa State has a chance to win the national championship. If things fall right and they play well, they hit key shots, and they win the close games, they could win the whole thing. It would not shock anybody if Iowa State won the national championship. And then what also happened last year was Iowa State beat Houston by 30 points in the Big 12 championship game. And it showed to everybody that game did not matter one bit. They stayed as a 2 seed. Houston was still the 1 seed. That game did not matter. So the evidence has shown that the Big 12 championship doesn't matter. Iowa State's won 5 championships in the last 10 years. Sometimes it's been fine. Sometimes they've went out and lost right away. This year's team, the expectation is you hit it right on the head. Sweet 16, almost disappointing if that's the only farther you get. Take that next step to the Elite 8. I think the one where everybody's, to get to the championship game, if you make the Final Four, your goals have been met this year. It's different than the previous few years. The Final Four is the goal, is the destination that Cyclone fans want this year.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. Minimum Sweet 16. I think Iowa State fans would feel like the season was, even though it is a successful season, there's just so much put into March Madness that if they would get upset in the first or second round, there would be a lot of Iowa State fans just that felt like this wasn't a satisfying season. You get to the Sweet 16. I think you get to the Elite 8. That's a really good season. And then, like you said, if they get you get to the Final Four, that's huge for your program. And like you said, you had Auburn down by 20, who I think everybody in the country says is the best team, and it's Duke's right there. But we'll see how it goes. There's these next few weeks will tell a lot in the seeding. And I know I've heard you guys talk. You'd like to have that 1 seed. It looks good on your program, but I think it looks good if you could get to the Sweet 16, Elite 8 as well. So I think they're in prime position with the 1 through 4, and to make a run. And you got to stay healthy. And I like your chances to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, the 1 seeds if Monsilovich never gets hurt and Caleb Love doesn't hit the 65-foot shot, 1 seed's way more into play. I think a 1 seed, essentially, to get the 1 seed, you would have to win out, not lose another game. And because the SEC, I don't believe the SEC truly is going to get 3 number 1 seeds. A couple of them have to play each other, and then they have to play each other in the SEC championship. I just think some of them are going to lose enough. Houston, I believe, is going to jump into that 1 seed line as well, unless Iowa State would run the table. But I would say Houston most likely, Iowa State maybe next would definitely have a say in that 1 seed. But I want Iowa State to be a high 2 seed. Stay away from Auburn as long as you can. They're good. I just what they did at Alabama made a little bit of a run, but what Auburn did at Alabama on Saturday was impressive. They've proven how good they are with only a couple losses on the season, and both teams are ranked in the top 5 that they lost to.
Yeah, I'm just really impressed with the SEC, how they've kind of turned into a basketball conference. I mean, they have some powerhouses in there right now. You still have Duke and all those. Yeah. But there's going to be multiple teams in that Sweet 16 that we had no clue where they came from. That's the beauty of the tournament. I do wish they would take into play kind of how you're playing. I can't believe K-State, they're not even in the mix, and I would not want to mess with them right now if you drew them. But I don't think they take that into account anymore, how you're playing or how you finished. It's more of your body of work, and I don't think K-State's going to make the tournament unless they win the Big 12.
Right. They've lost 2 in a row after winning those 3 or 4 straight. Kansas would be a team kind of going the opposite way. They're going to get in because they have a win against Duke. They have a win against Michigan State. They've got the wins that you want, but they're playing horrible basketball right now. And Bill Self hates his team, and I think they all hate each other. And that is just a team that was put together with a lot of money, and they're all playing for themselves and not a team. But when you get to the tournament, those guys understand that if you can get to the Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four, your draft stock jumps, your NIL opportunities, if you have multiple years left, increase. It doesn't have to be at Kansas. You can move around every year. And I wouldn't want to play Kansas in the tournament, though. No. They're good. Talent-wise, they're good.
Yeah, and they could easily make a run. It's almost like a restart for everybody. The regular season there's just not a lot of emphasis put on the college basketball regular season. I mean, you could go undefeated and get upset in the second round. It would be looked at as a failure as opposed to a 18-12, I don't know, Wisconsin team or something that all of a sudden made a run to the Final Four. You're going to remember that before you remember this undefeated team. And that's just the way it is. But I think as fans, that's what draws us to it, and it's never going to change. And I think we love that as fans.
Yeah, and that's it. Being in Iowa, and for those of you listening outside Iowa, Drake is right here in Des Moines, and they're 22-3, really no chance of a at-large bid. So essentially their entire season comes down to 1 weekend in St. Louis. It does not matter what you do. You can finish last in the conference. You can finish first in the conference. It's what you do in that weekend. And that is hard. And, the talk is every conference can make the decision on who goes to the NCAA tournament. It can be a regular season champion, but then the championship tournament doesn't matter at all. So why would even, if you're Drake and you already won it, you'd sit your guys. You wouldn't even play them in the tournament because it wouldn't matter. So the excitement wouldn't come, but yet they're the best team, and they go down there and get upset, they're out. I mean, it's just simple as are. They're going to have less than 5 losses on the season, and they got no chance at the tournament.
Yeah, I literally think they could win out, lose in the MVC championship to Bradley or something. I don't think they're getting in, which I have a hard time believing they're not one of the top 68 teams. It's just the Power 5 conferences are kind of just taking over. They have some quality wins under their belt.
They beat K-State.
They beat Vanderbilt. I think they beat Miami, which Miami I don't think is very good. But they just can't get those opportunities either. So, like you said, it's all coming down to March Madness. And, they'll be probably a lock to the semis. But UNI and Bradley are no slouches either. And, UNI tends to show up in these tournaments. So I wouldn't be shocked if you saw Northern Iowa in the tournament.
No, UNI, the difference in Drake and UNI, Drake's been really good for 20 years instead of 7. And so they do get a few games preseason that are good games. And lately they've lost those games. So their record isn't as good, but when they get to the Valley, they can play. And then Jacobson's just a really good coach, and he gets them better and better throughout the year because he's been there long enough. He knows the drill that it really only matters that weekend in St. Louis now since, Wichita State's left and Loyola Chicago's left, and just those really good teams have left the Valley, and it's a one-bid league now. Creighton.
Yeah. I mean, it's a one-bid league, unfortunately, and for Drake this year, they've had a heck of a season, but it's just not possible, I don't think. I mean, unless they win out and maybe lose, I still think they're going to come up short and probably be hosting an NIT game if they don't make it.
Absolutely. Let's move on to Iowa. First, let's just talk real quick. Road trip, win at Rutgers, pretty good win. They've got 2 of the best players in the country. They're not the best team, but they have 2 of the best players, played really well. First half against Maryland, who's a top 25 team, and they've got really good players, the McDonald's All-Americans. 4-point lead, 51 points at halftime, and then the absolute wheels fell off. And that is the Iowa that we've came to grow and know. And, if you're not a Hawkeye fan, love just to watch the absolute lack of effort on defense. And I don't even know what to say. I watch, and I like Peyton Sanford. I think he's a good player, but he is god awful on defense. And it's not good.
Yeah. And the sad part about it is if you watch that first half, I don't know if there's a team in the country that executed better on offense than what Iowa did. They did everything right, and they only had a 4-point lead, I think, at half.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's the problem. You score 54 something and a half. You're at 54-50. And then you just get thumped by 30. We knew we couldn't keep up the offense. I didn't think the defense would collapse that bad. And it's unfortunate, but that's the problem. This team, I think Fran is a very good offensive coach. But he's got to, there's got to be an emphasis put on defense. And I think it's more of a personnel issue here as well lately. And they can't stop anybody. I mean, they can score with anybody. I wouldn't want to play them in the Big Ten tournament just because they can drop 90 on you with ease, but Iowa still may lose by 20 by scoring 90 is the problem. But they'll give somebody a run in the Big Ten tournament that might be on the bubble. And that's not a team you want to see because Iowa can score. They just cannot stop anybody.
And as an Iowa fan, like just watching it, how much do you and I've talked to this with Trevor. I know you listen to us. I know you don't listen to us, every week or whatever, but do you think Beth Getz has got to him and said, don't act like an idiot? Because he is acting different. Or is it just he's getting older and just whatever?
That's a great question. I don't know.
Because he does not get the Fran's red face that we all loved.
It's almost like, I don't know if it's that he doesn't care or if, to me, it's like he knows that the writing's on the wall. This is it, in my opinion. How it ends, I don't see him. I mean, and if I'm him as well, I'm not resigning. I mean, you're going to buy me out every single dollar, which he deserves that. He signed the contract.
Right.
Well, I think it's about $4 million maybe to buy him out. And you can't blame him. He's just not going to leave money on the table that he can get. But I do think this is the end. His son's a senior at West High. I think he'll coach again. I don't know where, but he is an offensive-minded coach. And if it's, I don't know, somewhere, I don't know that he'll coach next year. But he knows the game of basketball. He did a lot of good things for Iowa. It's just the program's gotten stale. you can't coach in front of 3,000 people in Carver Hawkeye. It's just not gonna. There's no excitement. I mean, I don't even know half the time when they're playing. I don't pay attention. I mean, there's no talk about it unless it's negative talk, and I think she knows this, and it's a good job, and it'll be exciting to see who they can get in there. I mean, I would be shocked if he comes back next year.
Yeah. Is there any way that it's just you can't be good at everything, I think, going forward with the revenue sharing? Is there any way where that just Iowa as a school and athletic department, and this isn't necessarily always a Beth Getz decision, where we can't invest in men's basketball right now as much as we'd like to with the women's team and the wrestling and everything, where they keep him and they tell him, hey, you got to go find a defensive coach and you got to go get him, and we'll pay him $1 million a year and we'll go from there.
I do think if he does come back, I think you're 100% correct on that. That's what they're saying. We don't have because any good coach is going to come in and they're going to demand the maximum amount of NIL money that, any other power. I mean, you're in the Big Ten. You're in the best conference in the country. There's money there. And I mean, a DeVries isn't leaving West Virginia where they can get all sorts. I mean, they love basketball in West Virginia. I mean, I think he would come. I think they could get the money to buy him out. Maybe Brothers Market can throw in a few million. But,
you would think is he part of that too or not?
I think he's a silent owner. Yes, I think he's in on it. But like you said, if he's coming back, it's that they don't have the money because they know coaches aren't coming here for their salary. I think you're going to get pretty much standard salaries. It's more about how much you're going to give me so I can go out and get the top players. And I don't know what these schools are paying or anything, but they're going to have a lot of money because it's a Big Ten school. And you can turn a team around in one day. You get a coach and give him money, he's going to go. We've seen it happen all over. And if he sticks around, I think you're 100% right. That's what they're going to do. They're going to say, all right, we don't have the money, but you need to get better at defense. And you're going to be stuck with these. I don't know. He does have a pretty good recruiting class coming in. I will give it.
That's what's a little bit baffling to me is these guys are still committing. You are 100. I think DeVries will come, but he's going to be guaranteed. Like at West Virginia, he has a really good NIL deal, and he's going to have to get that same promise / expectation at Iowa. He's not coming, and I don't blame him. Because he can win at West Virginia. They've been to the Final Four. They've been really good with more than one coach, and they're good.
And I think a new coach would bring excitement. I think some donors would step up, but it's going to have to be in writing. It's going to have to be a guarantee for whatever. If he gets $3 million a year for 5 years, he's going to want the maximum amount for NIL. And I don't even know what a basketball NIL is. If they're getting $23 million for a program, and you got to divide that up, I don't know enough about it just from listening to people. Sounds like it's going to be a little more organized and kept track of, but I'm still not sold on that. I think there'll still be some shady deals going on, but it's going to have to be a lot of money guaranteed to pay players each year.
Yeah, it's not about his salary or whoever they hire as a coach. It's not about them. They're going to get theirs, market value. We listen to a lot of the same stuff, but I think Chris on two guys there at Iowa Everywhere. I think he said Iowa is about $1 million, and most teams in the Big Ten are north of $2 million as a team. And I think Iowa State's at about a little bit more than $2 million a year for their team. So they're just way behind.
Yeah. And I do think the girls or the ladies program being so successful has not helped a little. I mean, just because who's going to come out and watch a mediocre men's team right now at 8:00 at night, and all these teams that they play at the beginning of the year that no one's heard of? I mean, I'm not coming out to watch Maryland Eastern Shore at 8:00 on a Thursday night.
Right.
And the girls are selling out every single game, so they're obviously picking that right now. But that does show that Carver can be a great environment. You saw it on the Caitlin Clark game there when USC came to town. And I think that's done more for the Iowa program than anything this year. I think there was some top recruits in the country in that gym that day, and I expect
Yeah.
Iowa to be right in the mix next year as a top 10 team coming forward.
Yeah, if they could just get one of the 3 or 4 of those girls, and their freshman class right now is really good. Yeah, and I do think that is hurting Fran. And you and I would both be in this thing that we live far enough away from either one. We're not having season tickets, but if I had to choose, we don't have unlimited funds, so we would have to choose between men or women season tickets, and we would both choose. At Iowa State right now, you choose men, and at Iowa right now, you choose women. That's just the reality of it, because you can't go to Carver Hawkeye 4 nights a week, and you don't have the funds to do that.
Yeah, for sure. And she's got her hands full on. It's going to take a coach that brings some excitement. And bottom line, you got to win. I think if they can get a coach in there and they start winning, it'll slowly start filling back up, and it'll be interesting to see if the men can turn the corner, how the ladies program does, if they can sustain it. But I just think there has to be a change. There is literally no excitement around Iowa basketball right now, and
if you don't get DeVries, whether he says no or you can't get him, whatever it is. What are some other guys that you would like to see, or do you really even have an idea?
I think he'd have to. This is stretching it, but I would make a call to Bruce Pearl. Why not? He's got Iowa ties. I don't think he'd leave, but you got to make him say no.
Right.
He's going to – and then I don't – after that, there's not – the Drake coach, obviously, but he's a lot like Licklider. I don't know how he comes in here, if he's going to be able to get the excitement. Forbes at Wake Forest, I think, would come in a heartbeat.
Yep. You wouldn't have to call twice there, I promise you.
No, I'm sure he's in. That would be his dream job as well. But, I think you go Bruce Pearl, and obviously I think he's going to say no. He's got the number 1 program in the country right now, but you never know. And then DeVries.
Chris Jans out of Mississippi State is an Iowa guy too.
Yeah, Wapsie Valley. And I think they just thumped Texas A&M last night.
Yeah.
So, yeah, those are all Iowa connections. And then I don't know.
You don't have to have that, though. You are a Big Ten program. Can you get a guy that's, I don't know, get a head coach that, Steve Forbes, Wake Forest, but go get the Virginia Tech guy. I don't know if he's any good or not. I don't know. But, yeah, I think you can go get a guy like that.
Indiana's looking for a coach.
Right.
I think they're going to probably get – the best coach in the country, if you want to go after him, I would say is Rick Pitino, but he's not going to – he could leave for Indiana. I could see that. I don't see him leaving for Iowa, but, that guy just knows how to win everywhere, and he's been doing it for 40 years.
Right.
He's done some shady stuff, but I think a lot of them have and he just happened to get caught, but I don't think there's a better coach in the country than him. Look what he's done at St. John's, and they were a doormat, and he went in there. He said, these are the changes that are going to be made, and that's how much money I need, and they're a top 10 team in the country now. I would not be shocked if he went to Indiana unless he's just really loyal to St. John's because they gave him that, basically he was shunned from college basketball, and they gave him a second chance. But, yeah, for Iowa, you got your guys with Iowa ties. Obviously, I think DeVries is the hot one right now that everybody – I think it'd be a splash, and there would be excitement. I think he'd fill that – I think Carver would be sold out in his first game in. And then it's just a matter, can he bring in the players? I'm sure Tucker's done for the year, so he's going to come right away.
Right.
And and we'll see. So, but yeah, Fran's got to go first. I think if he goes, and they know they've got the money that they can pay players. And who's going to stick around from this team? Sure Freeman's gone, in my opinion, but really Josh Dix is about the only one I'd care to see stick around, and the rest of them can hit the road, but we'll see.
But I would say some of them, I guess you can cut them, but I think there's a few players on that team that need to stay just because I don't know where else they're going at a Big Ten, or a Power 5 school. Like Brock Harding, I don't know who would take him at a Power 5 school.
Bryce Samford, they may stay if they're getting, I don't know. I'm sure they're getting something if it's $50,000 or something. And I mean, where's he going to go? I mean, I could see him going to Drake, but they're not going to give him $50,000.
No.
So, I mean, unfortunately, those are the type of players we've got. UNI Drake type of players trying to play in the Big Ten, and it's not going to work. Freeman's probably the only one. I mean, I do like Josh Dix just the way he plays, but we need a lot more.
He could go somewhere, but yeah,
we need a lot, but that's the beauty about. That's the one thing with college sports right now. I look at Indiana football. I mean, it can be turned around in literally one off season.
Yep.
And
Iowa State went from not winning a Big 12 game, went to the Sweet 16 the next year. So, I mean,
it's just a different world we live in, and I mean, it's very possible to change the culture extremely fast in college sports right now.
All right, I think that's probably good enough for Iowa college basketball and Iowa State basketball. Let's kind of go, what you're right in the middle of, playoff high school basketball. You're in the men's side. The girls are playing as well. Just some of your Southeast Iowa teams that can make a run. I know there's two women's teams, girls teams that are really good, that are making a run to the state tournament in Eddyville, Blakesburg, and North Mahaska. What have you seen? What are your predictions, and everything else that you want to talk about there in high school basketball?
Kind of in our area, like you said, I think Eddyville's probably your one. Eddyville Blakesburg girls are probably your one team that I think can make the most noise up in Des Moines.
Right.
I mean, they've got a ton of talent. I could see
they got to run through the Chargers though in the sub-state final if they get there.
Oh, they did. I think they've got the power to win a game, maybe two if they get hot. All three in Des Moines. There's a lot of good teams around here. I don't know that we have one that can really go up there. Knoxville's undefeated. I don't know if as a 3A team playing in that conference is going to suit them well when they get up to Des Moines. 1A, there's a lot of decent teams. I don't know if there's one good enough to get to the state tournament. We'll see. I mean, in our district, we play Montezuma, who's got one of the best players in Class 1A. North Mahaska's got the 1 seed in our district, but then we have Gladbrook Rhinebeck sitting on the other side, who's a top 3 team in the state. So that's going to knock out all of our conference unless one of us can pull an upset. Pella Christian's kind of down for what they usually are. So, and there's not a lot of great teams in Southeast Iowa for 3A. I think Eddyville Blakesburg girls are probably your team to make the most noise. North Mahaska is solid, but they have a tough draw. I think they've got to go against. They go up with like Jessup and Hudson and schools like that they got to play next, which they could beat them. And then if they get to the state tournament, you never know. But Montezuma girls are pretty good. I don't know. It's just an exciting time. I mean, our Sigourney girls, I think, could get into the sub-state, and then they'd have to play Springville, which would be an extremely difficult game. But you never know if you can get that far. So, and then as far as 4A, I think your champions on the boys' side, the whole CIML outside of the Des Moines Metro schools are all really solid.
Right.
Waukee Northwest are both very good. Cedar Falls is loaded. Linn-Mar. The 4A title, or whoever wins 4A is going to earn it because there are about 10 of them that are very good in 4A, and there's not one clear cut that's kind of sticking out right now. Valley's loaded. I would probably lean toward Cedar Falls if I was picking, but I wouldn't be very confident in it. That's for sure.
Yeah, and then the 5A girls, the big Johnston and Dowling are kind of head and shoulders above everybody else, but Johnston's really the one. But I think Dowling did get them. They split this year, but those two, everybody else is kind of playing for second or third place.
Yeah, Johnston. There at one point they were ranked like 14th in the nation, I think, before they got beat. But yeah, it'll be between those two, that's for sure. And it's an exciting time. You get this wrestling state tournaments going on right now. That started today, so I'm sure Des Moines booming from that. And then it just rolls right in here with girls basketball and boys basketball, and then we have March Madness, and then the Masters, and then it's about summertime for us teachers.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, you're having to go to work more than some of us here lately. You're going to school. We're getting out for being cold and snowy and everything. You're toughing it out there at Sigourney.
Yeah, I mean that's just another topic, but it's crazy how some schools go. Some have 2 hour delays, some just cancel, some do virtual days. I mean, I get it. As a superintendent, you're whatever decision you make is going to upset half the community. The other is going to love you, and that just goes along with the job. I wouldn't want the job, so I would never complain what a superintendent calls. I mean,
Right.
they got to do what they feel is best for their students and staff, and
Right.
it might be different than a school that's 10 minutes away from you, but it is what it is, and they're doing their best at their job.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
I don't want to make those decisions. I agree. Let's talk. I did not watch this live. I've seen the highlights and everything, but the hockey game on Saturday night, USA versus Canada. Canada, it's in Montreal, so the French Canadians booed the national anthem, which is a whole different topic. Again, on the thing is, the geopolitical with the tariffs and President Trump and their president and everything. So they're booing the national anthem, and then you got 3 guys fighting each other in the first 9 seconds, and then U.S. Wins the game 3-1. And this is replacing the All-Star game. And so it's a 4 nations tournament. It's Sweden and Finland, and then the U.S. and Canada. Now, how they pick those 4 countries, no idea. I'm not a hockey guy, but they play again tomorrow night. That's going to be the most watched hockey game probably in the U.S. history. And it's just crazy to watch what hockey has done. And then Sunday was the All-Star game and the Daytona 500, 2 of the biggest things in each respective sports. And you and I are roughly the same age when All-Star weekend in the NBA was the deal. The 3-point contest, the dunk contest, and the game was awesome. Now, I didn't watch 1 second of it. I don't know. I don't care. And the NBA is in trouble. And the All-Star weekend just needs to go away.
Oh, I 100% agree. I remember when we were growing up, the 3-point and dunk contest was on Saturday night.
Yep.
And you'd have the All-Star game, and it's lost its luster. They don't care. Hockey, on the other hand, like you said, but unfortunately, I heard they're not doing it next year. So they're going to do it like once every 5 years or something. So
I think next year's the Olympics. So, I mean, there's a reason they're not doing. I mean, it's.
But yeah, that stirred up more excitement. I mean, that's all everybody talked about. I'll probably tune in tomorrow night to watch a little bit. I'm not going to say I'm going to watch it all, but I'm excited to see the highlights. I think you can blame. I wouldn't say blame, but give a lot of credit to Donald Trump for getting this thing kind of stirred up. But yeah, they were ready to go. I mean, 3 fights in the first 9 seconds. Everybody was excited, and that'll be probably a bigger draw than the Stanley Cup will be. But it was probably. I heard some people say it's the greatest night in hockey history because I think they're gonna get a lot of viewers. And like you said, NBA is just dead and it's in trouble. And I have not watched hardly. I don't know if I've watched 10 minutes of the NBA all year. And I mean, I'm sure I'll tune in the playoffs to watch some games, but it's just not exciting right now. And I don't know what you do to save it. I think they could go to a format like this with U.S. versus the world, but I just don't know if those athletes are going to even take it serious. I mean, they're all so worried about getting injured or.
Well, they've got too much money. It's what they get. It used to be you win the dunk contest, you get $100,000. We're only getting paid $1 million a year. $100,000 mattered. Well, $100,000 now to these guys doesn't matter.
Yeah, we got a guy in the dunk contest who's not even in the NBA. He's in the G League. So it's. I mean, he had some very good dunks. I'll give him that. But I mean, we might as well just open it up to high school kids. There's probably high school kids that can come in here and do that. I don't know what they do. They've got to figure something out because I used to like the NBA, and it's just, I mean, obviously I was a huge Bulls fan, and then it kind of rode into the Lakers with Kobe and Shaq, and even through the Warriors, I think. But here in the last 7-8 years, it's just been pretty brutal, to be honest. And I don't know. It needs some fixing, or I could see the WNBA going by it at this point, the way Caitlin Clark's kind of taken over the world.
Right. I agree. I don't know what they do. All it is 3-point shots. No one, I mean.
Threes and dunks.
Yeah.
No defense.
No, they don't. It's whoever hits more threes on the night, that's the team that's going to win.
Yep.
And then the last thing, we kind of touched it real quick. Daytona 500. Again, I didn't watch the whole thing, but I did watch the end. It was a big delay and everything. And our buddy Trevor, he did win. He had Byron and then our friend also Doug DeCock showed that he won too. Again, you always show the winners, but if they bet on 20 other drivers, who I don't know if they won, but I think they did because he wasn't one of the true favorites. So each of them probably won money on their bets, I would say.
Yeah, Trevor's the one that got me on this. Probably a few. He's like, it's the greatest thing to bet on, and there is, and it is. I mean, it's the only NASCAR race I'll watch. I'll tune in for the last 10 laps, and I made a bunch of bets. I had Denny Hamlin finish top 5. He's leading the race with 1 lap to go, and boom, crashes, and I think he finished. I don't know. It was outside the top 20, which is just amazing to me. How you can. I think they used to finish under caution. You could finish a race, and I would have won, but they didn't. But it is exciting. I mean, it is just a complete crapshoot. The crashes, the chances those drivers take, it's fun to watch, and I'll definitely bet on that every year because it's fun to watch.
Yeah, that's what. And then the thing that I was watching a little bit of that, but I was watching. I know you said you didn't watch it, but the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary. Did you watch Saturday Night Live growing up? See, I loved Saturday Night Live.
I did, and I'm going to watch it. I just haven't yet. I've kind of gotten into Tulsa King, so I've spent about every night watching that lately. So
that's good. I've already finished that. That's really good.
But, I was a Saturday Night Live guy all the way to probably I went to college, and then I kind of stopped watching it. But yeah, I love Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, so it was fun to watch this people come back and everything. So if you were a Saturday Night Live person, you haven't watched it yet, and the other thing I liked, Friday night they had the concert. That was really good too, where they kind of recreated a lot of the iconic shows, and that's where I sent you that video of Cher and your favorite song. That was what that was off of and everything.
For sure. No, it's something on my list to watch. I'm just, like I said, I get into something and I like to finish it before I move on.
Oh, I'm the same way, and that's what I did. Squid Game and watched it like in 2 days, and
that's good too. I watched that.
Yeah. So have you watched the Squid Game challenge where it's actually? They don't obviously kill the people and stuff, but it's actually a reality show where they win money.
No, is it good?
It's not bad. I'm not through it yet, but yeah, it's not bad. But I mean, it truly is just like it. It's just obviously they don't shoot them.
No, I haven't seen that, but I might add it to the list. That's for sure.
No, it's good. So, all right, I think that's probably good enough. Unless you got something else. Thanks for stepping in today with Trevor not being able to make it this week, and good luck on our basketball games tomorrow night.
Yeah, thanks. No, it should be an exciting time here. Obviously, I love college basketball, so these next few weeks are going to be exciting. I don't think Iowa's going to make much unless they pull something crazy in the tournament, but there's nothing better than that, that first weekend of March Madness. So it's going to be here before we know it.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks a lot, Zach, and we'll talk to you later.
Thank you.